A very good morning to all. Welcome to the webinar on Towards Near Zero Data Loss, What You Need to Get It Right. Myself Manoj, and I take care of customer acquisition with Vembu Technologies. And for today's session, I do have Mr. Hasib from Sales Engineering. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's session, let me give you a quick overview on the agenda. We're going to see what is actually near zero data loss, and as a business, why you should aim for it, what are all the strategies and the best practices you can adopt to achieve near zero data loss, and how Vembu helps you in achieving zero data loss. So that's the hard part of the session. Also, we do have a quick live demo of Vembu BDR Suite where we can give you show you the live consoles and what are all the backup and recovery options available with Vembu BDR that helps you to achieve near zero data loss on your environment. And then we can have a quick Q&A session if time permits by the end of the session. So before we get into the session, let me set you the ground update about the ground rules. As soon as you join the session, you'll be automatically in mute mode. However, during the session, if you got any questions or if you need any clarifications about the session, just you'll be having a question box on the panel. So just type whatever the questions you have, and we have dedicated sales engineers available with us. They are ready to answer your questions then and there on the session. Also, by the end of the session, as mentioned, if time permits, we'll have a short Q&A, and then we can go ahead and wrap up the session. So that's the agenda. Now let's see what is near zero data loss, and what actually makes businesses to think about this particular near zero data loss, and what exactly it means. So data loss is something like, as everyone aware, it's a very layman term. It's a loss of information, and information is considered to be the most precious asset for a business. A loss of information, in short, we say, is a loss of customer, and a loss of customer is a loss of business. So at any point of time, information is the most important wealth of a business, and there are several reasons that could cause a loss of information or data from the business critical machines or servers. It could be anything. Some of the important disruptive events I could mention are like, it could be a hardware failure, maybe one of your business critical server may be down, or there may be a software corruption on the applications you use, or due to human error, your employee or the admin could have accidentally deleted critical business information. And if there is a physical disaster on a particular location where you have your hub, all your business critical servers, all your business critical data storage is available on a specific hub, and there is a physical disaster, then the complete network or the complete system is down, where eventually you end up in data loss. And there are several malwares and several hacking attempts and several network related security issues that really tries to corrupt business critical systems, which eventually makes you end up in the data loss. So these are all some of the examples of disruptive events which could occur on a business, and that will make a very serious impact by creating a data loss on a particular business. So this can happen at any scale. It could be a smaller one, it could be a single server, or the complete site may be down. And what setup is called a near zero data loss is nothing but any disruptive event at any scale, if it occurs on a business environment, and there is such a mechanism implemented that you can roll back the system or recover the system with zero data loss or near zero data loss, which means there is no significant data loss after the disruptive event. So such a mechanism or such a disaster recovery deployment or technology is called near zero data loss, and this could be achieved by following some of the industry's best practices in terms of deployment as well as the use of some of the best industries disaster recovery softwares. So, why we should aim for this zero data loss, and what exactly the serious impacts caused by a data loss in a business? So, I've just summarized a few of the important consequences which happens on a business after a specific data loss. They are productivity disruption, increased vulnerability, lost revenue, reduced brand value and trust. And to avoid such kind of impacts, a business should aim for a disaster recovery mechanism with a minimum data loss. So let's go ahead and see it one by one in a detailed manner, and then we can see what are all the preventive and corrective actions to avoid such kind of impact on a business. Productivity disruption. Productivity is directly proportional to the availability of the data and resources. So, if the business information is lost, then all the production-based servers applications are down. Then the organization is end of the day, the employees won't be able to carry out their regular business operations, and the business productivity is completely low. So this productivity disruption is caused when there is a significant data loss on a business critical data, and there is increase in vulnerability. Many of the businesses many of the businesses store sensitive information like clients' health records. It could be their contact information. It could be their medical information. So in such kind of information, if there is a breach, or if there is if that particular data is lost from the secured environment, there are chances of misuse of this particular sensitive information, which eventually end up creating a issue with the particular business as well as the customer. So that win-win relationship on the confidentiality promise given by the business to the particular customer on the particular data will be lost. So that's one of the important, and it's one of the severe impact caused by the data loss. There is nothing but the vulnerability. A loss of data is a loss of revenue. How I can say is, like, if you lose the data, then obviously it will impact the business in two different ways. So losing information will end up in achieving or acquiring more new customers. It actually prevents acquiring new customers to our business. So if there is no new customers being added, then there is no new revenue. Then the fresh revenue generation of a company or a business will be lost. On the other hand, if you lose the information or the data of your existing customers, then you will not be able to provide the continuous service or the same quality of service to those customers, and eventually those customers will leave your company, and they will choose some other one, and the loss of the existing customer base will reduce the existing customer revenue. So in two ways, there is a loss or the reduction in the new customer revenue, and there is a loss or reduction in the existing customer revenue, which together makes a significant impact on the company's revenue, on a business revenue. And a trust is one of the most important factor when it comes to business. And being on a business with serving customers, especially the service-based sector, the trust the customer rests on a company really makes a great impact on the company's revenue. So if the customers think that the information they provide to a company is being lost, or if we lose sensitive information of the customers, then the trust customer had on the particular business or a company will be lost, and this creates a very serious negative impact on the company's brand value. Then further consequences will be like, if the brand value is lost, then it has a very serious impact on achieving more customers, as well as it will also end up in losing the existing customers. So this data loss has serious impact in reducing brand value and the trust of the customers that they vest on a specific company. So Here we have summarized some of the key points that can be followed strategically on a company to prevent such kind of data loss and to achieve near zero data loss production. One of the most important factors, like there are several scenarios, the hardware failure which is not easily revocable or which is not easily addressed. It needs more downtime when it compared to the other factors. So it is very important for a business to check their hardware health status of their business critical servers in a regular period interval. So it has to be maintained, and the proper check and the proper maintenance of the hardware servers of business critical servers is very important. That plays a vital role in avoiding the hardware failure on those servers. As well as there should be an effective firewall and antivirus system should be implemented on the network, just to make sure that there is no any malware attack through the external network access, and there is no any breach in the network security by having a stronger firewall as well as antivirus which scans all the in and out data transfer to and fro on the network. Also, we should have the deployment in such a way that you should be able to perform quick restores of the backed up data on your environment. Which means what we recommend is like you should have an immediate second copy of the data on the same site, such that if there is a data loss, you do not have to wait for hours and hours or a longer downtime to restore or recover the data from a site which is sitting on a different location. So you should have a local site or a local DR server where you can instantly recover the data which is being lost, such that this particular loss will not have an impact on the business. Which means before the data loss is being sensed on the commercial perspective, you are just making a corrective action that the data will be restored to its original state before it makes an impact. So we should have a deployment in such a way that you can perform quick restore as well as the backup, because like without backup there is no restore. So the backup should be as frequent as possible. So this is directly proportional to how far you can recover or how far you can revoke the changes caused by a disruptive event. And it is important to implement a 3-to-1 backup strategy. I'll elaborate more about 3-to-1 backup strategies in the upcoming slides. And also it's important to ensure high availability of the critical servers. High availability is nothing but if any one of your critical server is down, you should have a disaster recovery mechanism in such a way that you should be able to make a smart failover or failback of that particular critical server, such that there is no much downtime. Meanwhile, you should be able to spin up the critical servers on a different site or on a different machine instantly to provide the continuous service to your customers. So let's go and see how Vembu can help you in achieving zero data loss. There are three important factors involved when it comes to disaster recovery and data protection. One is backup, another one is replication, and finally recovery. So that is why we call it as 3-to-1 technology, where it is not just a backup, you should have a redundant copy, and also the backup should be in such a way that you should be able to recover it with no downtime, and you should be able to provide continuous service to your customers. Vembu can gladly say that we are having the industry's best RPO achieved in our product. So RPO, which is like to up to which point you can recover the backup. And Vembu has an RPO of 15 minutes for image-based backups like VMware, Hyper-V, and physical image backup, such that if any one of your business critical server is down, if it is a virtual machine, you can instantly spin up a virtual machine on the local BDR server, or you can instantly spin up the virtual machine on the available VMware or Hyper-V environment, as well as If it is a physical server, you can instantly perform a P2V migration and spin up the backed up for physical server as a virtual machine on the VMware or Hyper-V available environment available on the network. As well as for file backups, we provide real-time data production such that whenever a file has been modified, it will be instantly backed up so that in case of any disruptive event, in case of a deletion of a file, or if the particular file is lost, you can restore the file in such a state that there won't be any zero data loss on that specific file. We provide 100% real-time data production for file level backups, and the worst case scenario for image level backup is like in case if there is a disruptive event immediately, I mean like on the 14th minute after the backup, you can just you'll be losing the last 14 or 15 minutes of changes on the particular virtual machine or a physical machine. However, you should be able to spin up the particular business critical server in such a way that it is live on a state where it was like last 15 minutes before. So that's about minimizing RPO with Vembu. Similarly, Vembu has the industry's best recovery time objective, we call it as RTO, which is nothing but how fast we can recover a business critical server after it has been down. We have several recovery features at machine level, application level, file level. However, when it comes to RTO, we can gladly say that we have the instant boot feature where whatever the virtual machine being backed up or a physical server backed up as an image, you can instantly boot up the backed up data as a virtual machine on the available local VMware or Hyper-V environment. This is possible by having an intelligent file system called Vembu Hive, where you do not need to manually perform a recovery or a restore from your server in order to spin up a virtual machine. So the file system is intelligent enough to instantly spin up a VM maybe within a couple of minutes on the available hypervisor or a VMware environment accessible to the VDR server, such that once a virtual machine is booted up, you can just assign an IP address or connect it to a network, and you can start working on your replica machine instantly and provide the continuous service to your customers. This is we call it a simple failover, and this can be done instantly with VMware. And when it comes to disaster recovery, let's say what if the complete site is lost? What if there is a physical disaster on a specific geographical location? What if the server where you actually have the data immediately backed up is also lost? Of course, we do have a disaster recovery mechanism where we have a second copy of the data on a remote data center. It could be an offsite data center of yours. You can just use it as a DR site and replicate whatever the data being backed up to an offsite data center, and it is completely WAN optimized. And we do have cloud services where if you do not want to spend on a hardware or deploy an offsite data server, you can instantly replicate the data to Vembu Cloud, where it is the most secured environment to store your second copy of the data. And in case of any physical disaster, just with a browser, you can simply log into your cloud account anywhere from the globe, and you can instantly start recovering the data from our cloud servers. So such kind of disaster recovery mechanism is integrated with Vembu VDR Suite. And here we come to see the most important method, which is nothing but the 3-to-1 backup strategy, which can be achieved with Vembu VDR. So the 3-to-1 is nothing but there will be 3 copies of data. Say for example, if you are backing up a business critical server with Vembu VDR Suite, you do have an option. Say for example, if it's VMware, you do have an option to instantly back it up to the local storage you're connected to the server, as well as you can perform live VM replication to another ES6 server on the same environment to have a second copy. Or you can also have it have the whatever the data backed up, replicated, or archived on a tape storage, as well as apart from this regular backed up data, you can also replicate the data to an offsite data center, using an offsite replication, or you can also have the second copy of the data replicated to our cloud, Vembu Cloud, using a cloud replication. So at any point of time, when you look at it, there will be 3 copies of the data. So there is no chance of data loss. So even if one copy is not recoverable, you can jump into the other copy or the other copy, and whatever may be the disruptive event, you are in such a state that you can recover any data which has been backed up using the Vembu Media Suite software. So there is 3 copies of the data on 2 different storage media. One is like Vembu supports all type of storages like a directly attached storages, a SAN or NAS. It could be anything over the network, or it could be a directly attached storage. So that is one type of storage, and we do support tape archiving of the backed up data. So you'll have you can use 2 different storage media, one on the regular storage drives, and the other one is like a tape drive where you can archive the data on the tapes. Such that if you are not able to recover the data from one type of storage, you can even recover the data from the archived tape library, and you can provide the restored data to your customers. So there will be 2 different storage media, and one copy of the data will not be at the local environment at all. It is replicated to an offsite location. It could be your own data center, or it could be a private cloud, or it could be our cloud server using an offsite, using a cloud replication. So even if there is a physical disaster, or if there is a complete hardware or network failure on your side, however, you can still have the data restored from the other one copy on the other side of the environment. So this is called 3 to 1 backup strategy, where there will be 3 copies of the data sitting in 2 different storage media, and one copy of the data is sitting at a completely different offsite location. So this is an high-level overview of achieving zero data loss, and what are all the factors that influencing the disruptive events, and what are all the strategies you can adopt to prevent data loss on your business critical environment. So just to jump in, we'll just go ahead and see the live demo of Vembu Media Suite, where you can have a fair idea about like how you can configure a backup, or how you can set up a backup and disaster recovery environment using our product. So for this, I would like to invite the head of sales engineering, Mr. Hasi. He will be walking you through the live demo of the product.
All right, thank you so much for the great session here, Manoj. And thank you once again for all staying connected and taking time on going through the presentation here. So I'm Mohammed here from Vembu, from the sales engineering, and I'll be quickly going ahead and giving you an overview on how you can protect your data in using BDR, and I'll give you a brief overview on the product, on the real-time product, and I'll also show you what are the features available when it comes to performing like instant recoveries, like instant spin-up or file-level recoveries, as well as how you can have the copy of your backed up data into multiple copies in different locations. All right, so just stay connected here. Give me one more, let me show you my screen, and we'll proceed here. All right, thank you so much for all, and let me quickly get into a quick demonstration here on the product. All right, so I mean, we have a clear understanding, I believe, now about the the near zero data loss, and what are the strategies you need to plan in order to have the zero data loss. And using Vembu, yes, definitely we do provide multiple ways of storing your backed up data. Okay, great. So the first thing is, like, whenever you're planning to test the product, yes, we do provide a trial for a full featured 30-day trial on the product, which you can anytime download it from our website, and you can go ahead and you can install the product on any one of the supported operating system, and you can test the solution. So great. So as I was telling you, that there is a full featured 30-day trial, 30 days of trial on the product. So whenever you would like to test, just visit our website, vembu.com, and here on the top right, you will see the download option. And on the website, you will always find the latest build for our Vembu BDR backup server, which is a local backup server. You will be installing it at your location where you have the VMware or Hyper-V or the physical machines which you would like to backup. And these are the operating systems we recommend, where you can download and install this. And these machines, it can be a physical or a virtual machine where you can install this BDR backup server. And once it's been installed, you would be able to see the installer, which would be like this, the Vembu BDR as a startup icon, which you would be available on your home, on your desktop, and you can log in. It's a web interface which you could log into the application through the user ID and password you set during the installation. And so this is how the product web console will look like, the Vembu BDR backup server. And this will be the primary server for you in order to back up your VMware, Hyper-V, and the physical machines of your customers. So here, if you see all three environment, like the VMware, Hyper-V, as well as the Windows physical machines, it could be backed up without an agent. So you don't specifically need an agent to be installed on each of the environment or the host. So whatever you need to back up, just install this BDR on your machine. And if it's a VMware which you like to back up, just hit VMware vSphere and add the vCenter or the vSphere credentials here. And by using the the VMware APIs, we will be able to list all the hosts and their VMs, which you could actually see getting listed. And you could choose all the VMs or just a couple of VMs which you think would like to back up, and you can proceed for the backup. And here what we offer is we offer the consistency of the applications. If you have a Microsoft applications running on those VMs, yes, you can take a consistent backup of those applications. And then we also have the frequency, like Manoj already talked about the the RPO. So where you can set up like to back up the data like every 15 minutes. So in case something hits, like in any disaster happens, you can go back to the the previous backup job which happened just before like 15 minutes of the disaster, and you can recover the data. So that's the minimum, and there are other options available which you can set it up. And we also have the additional full backup just in case if you have any requirements. You could also do that, or you can schedule additional full backup on a monthly basis, and you can restrict how many number of full backups you would like to retain. So those options you could enable. And with our solution, we use the inbuilt compression, deduplication, and encryption. So the data, it is encrypted, it is deduplicated, and it is compressed. So it's on the fly and it's on the rest, it is encrypted. So you don't have to worry about the security on the data. Yes, it's encrypted. And then you also have the retention, where you can enable the retention policies based on your requirement. And we also offer multiple ways of storing the data, like where you have an option to add the storage. It can be a local disks, or if you have a network drive like a SAN or a NAS, you could add that, and it will be listed here for you to configure as a storage pool. So you can choose that given name, and you will have the storage pools. Multiple storage pools also can be created, and you can, whenever you configure a job, you can choose from the drop down which storage repositories you would like to back up locally. All right. And additionally, if you want, you can set up additional encryption like a password. And finally, just give a backup job name and save the backup job, so it will run as per the schedule. So you're not installing any agents. You're not having any agents installed on each machines. So it's just one installation. You back up the VMware, and similarly, if you want to back up the Hyper-V environment, you will use the same console, and you just need to add the Hyper-V host here. So here, when you add this Hyper-V host, we actually have a service which will be installed from the backend, where you don't have to do any manual work. It will be automatically installed to those Hyper-V hosts which you're going to add here. And once it's been successfully pushed and installed, you will see the hosts getting listed. And again, when you hit backup, you'll see all the VMs which needs to be backed up. So this is how you'll configure for the Hyper-V. And rest of the options will remain the same, where you have the application consistency can be enabled, and the frequency to the backup, and the retention, and you can choose the repository, and you can save the backup job, right? And that's for Hyper-V. And when it comes to your physical machines, like physical Windows servers or workstations, if you'd like to back up, you could also back them up using the same console. Again, it's just like you need to choose the Microsoft Windows plugin, add the host credentials here, the physical Windows servers and workstations you'd like to add, save it, and again there will be a Vembu integration services which will be pushed to those servers you have added from the BDR server itself. And once you hit list Microsoft Windows hosts, you will see all your workstations and your physical servers which you have added. And when you're ready, just hit backup, and you will be provided with an option to choose the disks available on those physical servers you have added. So you can choose those disks, configure the backup. Again, you have the application ever consistent like option where you can enable that, and the rest of the scheduling will remain the same. So for all primary environments, so it will be one-stop solution, and you will configure the jobs. And when it comes to having multiple copies of the backed up data, then the first copy, as you have scheduled, it will be backed up to the local storage repositories which you have selected for each job. And additional to that, if you would like, if you have a tape environment where you would like to archive the backup data of the VMware and Hyper-V, then you could enable that tape infrastructure. Like under the tape backup, we have the option to enable the tape, and once it's been enabled, you could choose the backup jobs which you would like to archive to the tape drives. So in case something happens, a disaster strikes on the disks, on the local disks, or on the on the backup server, you still have the data on those tape drives. And with the help of the data on the tape drive, you will be able to rebuild the BDR application where you can restore the backup jobs, and you have the zero data loss. Even if something happens to your backup server, you have the data on the tape drives. If not, there is another way, like another copy, like the first copy is on the local storage, the second copy is on the tape drive, and the third copy, you can enable this offsite copy management. And here we have two different options for you. Either you can have an additional copy of your local backup server's data on Vembu Cloud, which is on AWS. So you can just replicate the data, like copy the data from the local storage repositories to Vembu Cloud. Or if you have your own DR site, there you can install the Vembu offsite DR agent, to which you can point your BDR server, and you can have a copy of the BDR server's data offsite. And in case some disaster happens, you can either recover. If you have a DR server, you can recover it from there, or if you have a cloud DR, you can log into your cloud account, which you have access to it anytime, and you can recover the data anytime from your cloud server or from your DR server. All right, so this way you will have a copy of your backup data in three different storage medias. One will be locally on site on local disks, and another one will be on the tape drives, another one will be offsite. Okay, so anytime anything happens to your local environment, either you can restore it from the tape drives, or you can restore it from your offsite servers. All right, and those are the three different ways of recovering the data. And if you see the other recovery features, like what are the features the Vembu offers when it comes to recovery, then if you see under recovery, you'll see all the backup jobs here. There is a VMware job, there is a test VMware Hyper-V, as well as there is a disk image backup running here, right? So for example, if something happens to your physical machine, which you have backed up as an image, okay, if that machine is crashed, okay, and what you want to do is your user wants to access the machine immediately. So in that scenario, you can actually go to your backup server's web console, go to recovery, go to restore, and you will see an option called as quick VM recovery, which is nothing but you can perform the instant spin up of the physical machine which you have backed up into a Hyper-V or a VMware environment which is available on your network. So if you choose this quick VM recovery for the Windows physical machines disk image backup, you proceed next. You have an option to choose the timestamp from which you want to boot the machine. So you choose the any timestamp. You choose the disks which has the disk partition. Proceed, and here you will it will be asked you to where you want to restore the data. Is it on the VMware hypervisor? If it's available on your network, you can point the you can point the disks to this VMware host, which you can very well add it from the console if it's available on your network, and select it from the drop down, choose the data store, and give a name, say power on automatically if you would like, proceed. So what will happen is the selected disk image will be immediately booted up for you on the VMware environment, and your user can access it, and whatever changes the user is going to do, all those changes will be saved, and it will be available under the backup server's recovery option with the letter it will be marked with the letter P as in Peter, like a persistent boot changes will be available whenever you do an instant recovery on a different environment, right? So that's one way of doing it. If not, if you would like to choose, you could also choose Hyper-V, and if you choose Hyper-V, and if you're running this BDR on these machines, which we recommend, all these machines, if it's physical, you will have the Hyper-V feature in it. So if you have enabled that, then you can choose Hyper-V, give the RAM, proceed, confirm restore, and once it's been confirmed, you will see machines are getting restored. I mean, the selected machine, the disk is getting booted up immediately on the console, on the hypervisor, on the Hyper-V manager on the backup server. So this is the machine, the physical machine I booted up, and it is getting connected, and it will be up and running in just a couple of minutes on the backup server. So this is actually an RTO, like, I mean, the recovery time. So if you back up a physical machines or the VMs, you could do instant spin-ups on the backup server immediately, which would be less than 15 minutes. So this is how you will set up an RTO to your clients and to your users. So anytime happens, you can recover, do an instant spin-up of those machines immediately on the backup server. All right, and the feature which I showed you, the instant spin-up for physical disk image backup, will be available for you for a VMware as well as for the Hyper-V VMs. So you can perform the instant recovery for VMware VMs as well as Hyper-V VMs immediately on the backup server itself, or if you have any hypervisor like a VMware available, you can do that. All right, so that's one a key feature we offer. And there is also live recovery, which is nothing but you can permanently restore the VMs, the backed up VMs, to a different ESXi or the Hyper-V host, or if you have if you have rebuilded the host, ESXi or Hyper-V host, after a disaster, you can recover all those VMs back to the rebuild ESXi or the Hyper-V host from the backup server as a permanent recovery of the VMs. So you could choose this live recovery and you can perform that. And also we have the file level recovery, which is another important and a very useful feature. From all backups like Hyper-V, VMware, and disk images, you can perform a file level recovery just by getting into the backup server's web console. Choose the file level recovery. You choose a timestamp from which the user thinks he has to restore a specific file. So after selecting it, you'll see the machines, the VMs, or the disks which has been backed up, which can be explored further, and further you can explore the disks, and you'll see the volumes which can be further explored, and you'll see the real-time files and folders from the selected timestamp. So you could choose those files and folders, and you could perform immediate restore on the backup server, and you will have the files and folders restored for the user from the selected timestamp immediately on the backup server. So you don't have to wait for the entire machine to be up, or you don't have to restore the entire machine just to restore a specific file and folder from a different timestamps, right? So that's one feature. And apart from that, we also provide an option to do physical to a virtual migration, as well as from virtual to virtual migration. So how you could achieve that is, if you back up Hyper-V or a VMware or a disk images, you can download the backup data into different formats. So for example, if you're backing up a disk image of a Windows server, if you're planning to migrate it to a VMware or the Hyper-V environment, after a successful backup, you'll see the backup job, it's getting completed for the Windows server successfully. And when you want to restore it, just restore it, hit the restore and download, click on the download, proceed, and download the data. For example, if you're planning to migrate it to a VMware, you choose the disks with the boot partition of those which has been backed up, and choose the format as VMDK or flat VMDK, and you will have the file available, the image file available for you in the flat VMDK file format, which you can use it and deploy it directly on the ESXi host, and you're migrating from physical to a virtual environment immediately. So if not, if you want to go with Hyper-V, you just download it as VHD or VHDX and create the machines immediately onto the Hyper-V environment. So the physical machine, your backup, is getting migrated to a VMware or Hyper-V environment immediately for you by using this particular solution, right? And all these features, whatever I'm showing you, if you host your own DR server, so this is actually a local backup server, but if you're planning to go have an additional copy at a DR site, then what happens is whatever features available here on the local server will be available for you on the DR server as well. So there is a console, there is a web console for the DR server. Like I have installed this Vembu offsite DR agent in a different location, and I have replicated, like I have connected multiple local BDR servers to this one offsite DR server. And if you could see, there are servers named, there are like different servers named connecting to one DR server. And when I go to recovery, I'll see all the backup jobs, all the restore features, which are available on the local server, will be there on your offsite server as well. So what helps, when this helps is for you, for example, if the entire location is down, it's burned out, like there's no data, there's nothing there in the in the main location. So what you could do is you could go to your DR server and you can perform the instant spin-ups, just in case if any user wants to access the machines immediately, you can perform the instant spin-ups. Or if you would like to rebuild your your local backup server, and once the local site is up, then if you want to permanently restore the VMs back to the newly rebuilt host at the the disaster location, so you can perform the live recovery, restore the machines. If you want, you can also download the backup data into VHD or VMDK formats and create the machines immediately on the on the local site. So this way you could ensure that even if something happens to your local site, you still have a copy of data off-site, and you could download it anytime in different formats, and you can recreate the machines on the main side once it's like it's been up and running. Like once it's recovered, you could restore all those machines in the selected file format, and you will be up and running there. And apart from this, what we offer in the BDR is the image integrity report is there, like for the consistency of the backup of all the image backups. Whenever you see there is a Hyper-V or VMware backup job running, you will see there is a mount check and a boot check happening in the backend for all those VMware and Hyper-V VMs which you have backed up. So this way you could ensure that the data, the images which are being backed up are actually mountable and they are actually bootable. So those checks will be automatically happening in the backend. So this way you could ensure that the data is consistent. So you don't have to check the data every time by restoring it and doing instant recovery. So everything will be happening automatically in the backend, the mount and the boot, and it will confirm you that it is a successful backup. Okay, so I believe I have given you a brief overview here on the product. So as I said, there is always a 30 days of trial on the product. So this is the one backup, the backup server installation you need to do in order to test your multiple environments, like physical images or Hyper-V or VMware. You could download and install this, connect to the host, the Hyper-V or VMware or the physical host, and do the backups. It will have a full-featured 30-day trial. And after that, or during the trial, if you come up with any questions or if you need a personalized demo or assistance in deploying the software, you can reach our support team, which is 24/7 support team available here through phone, email, and chat. And definitely there will be someone who will be assisting you anytime. Okay, so in case if you have any questions, you could definitely email us at Vembu-support@vembu.com. And if you have any business related queries, you could email us at Vembu-sales@vembu.com. And if you would like to talk to someone over the phone, there's a number listed always on our website which you could reach, and there will be someone assisting you immediately. All right, and I'll pass on to Manoj, and he'll be proceeding further.
Thank you, Hasib. It was a very insightful session. As mentioned, like as we are running short of time, during the session we have got several questions, and our sales engineers answered it then and there. If you'd still like to if you still like have some questions, you could directly give us a call on the numbers you see on the screen, as well as you can also send an email to the email addresses you see on the screen now. This session is recorded. If anyone of you need a recorded copy of this session, you can also very well send us an email. We'd be able to send you a recorded copy as well. So once again, thank you all for joining this session. Have a wonderful day.